My name is Gabriel, and I'm a 42-year-old search and rescue volunteer. For years, I dedicated my life to helping find those lost in the wilderness. The satisfaction of bringing someone back to their loved ones was unmatched. But one case changed everything. It was late October, the air crisp with the promise of winter. I got a call around 9 p.m. A young woman named Clara had gone missing while hiking in the mountains. Her friends reported that she wandered off the trail around dusk and didn't return. We knew time was of the essence. I arrived at the base camp where Clara's friends and family had gathered. Their faces were etched with worry and fear. I met with the team leader, Marcus, who briefed us on the plan. We split into groups and started our search at first light. The first day was uneventful. We combed the trails, calling out Clara's name, but there was no sign of her. As night fell, we set up camp and prepared for another day of searching. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The woods were unusually quiet, as if holding their breath. The second day, we decided to split up to cover more ground. I paired with a young volunteer named Theo. We ventured deeper into the forest, following a narrow, overgrown path. After a few hours, we came across a small clearing. In the center was an old, dilapidated cabin. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. "Do you think she could be in there?" Theo asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's worth checking out," I replied, feeling a knot form in my stomach. We approached the cabin cautiously. The door creaked open with a push, revealing a dark interior. I turned on my flashlight and stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. The furniture was covered in cobwebs, and the floorboards creaked under our weight. "Clara," I called out, my voice echoing in the stillness. We searched the cabin thoroughly but found nothing. As we were about to leave, Theo noticed something strange. A section of the floor near the fireplace seemed out of place. He knelt down and began to pry it open. Beneath the floorboards was a small compartment. Inside, we found an old weathered journal. I flipped through the pages, trying to make sense of the faded writing. The journal belonged to a man named Samuel, who had lived in the cabin decades ago. His entries spoke of strange occurrences in the forest, voices in the night, shadows that moved on their own, and a feeling of being watched. "This is creepy," Theo said, his eyes wide. "Yeah, but it's not helping us find Clara," I replied, closing the journal. We left the cabin and continued our search. As the sun began to set, we heard a faint, desperate cry for help. We followed the sound, our hearts pounding. It led us to a ravine, where we found Clara clinging to a rock, her face pale and terrified. "Hold on, Clara, we're coming," I shouted. Theo and I carefully made our way down to her. We managed to pull her to safety, but she was in shock. As we escorted her back to the base camp, she kept muttering about the whispers and shadows that had chased her. When we finally returned, Clara's friends and family were overjoyed to see her, but I couldn't shake the unease that had settled in my chest. Clara's fear was genuine, and her story echoed Samuel's journal entries. I handed Clara over to the medical team and spoke with Marcus. "There's something wrong with those woods, Marcus. We found this journal in an old cabin. It talks about the same things Clara mentioned." Marcus looked at me skeptically. "Gabriel, you've been doing this for years. You know how the mind can play tricks in situations like these." "I know what I saw and I know what I felt," I insisted. "There's something out there, something we don't understand." Despite my warnings, the search continued for any other missing persons reported in the area. But I couldn't go back. The fear in Clara's eyes and the words in Samuel's journal were enough to make me realize that some things are beyond our control. I resigned from the search and rescue team the next day. I couldn't bear the thought of returning to those woods. The experience haunted me, and I knew I had to leave it behind. To this day, I've never gone back. The mountains stand as a silent reminder of the unknown terrors that lurk in the shadows, and I've learned that sometimes it's best to leave certain mysteries unsolved.